In Los Angeles County, officials predict they may pay out between $1.6 and $3 billion to resolve more than 2,500 claims of abuse. In some cases, this was sexual abuse inside the very facilities charged with protecting and rehabilitating the county's youth. Juvenile facilities run by the Los Angeles County Probation Department. The story you're about to see is the result of our months-long investigation into what's being described as a national disgrace and an outrageous open secret long ignored. We want to warn our viewers that this story contains accounts of sexual abuse that can be disturbing.
Nestled at the base of this Santa Clarita, California canyon lies what looks like a summer camp. But aside from the name, Camp Scott, the comparison ends there.
When I got here, I was excited because I was told that I was going to find discipline, I was going to find rehabilitation, and so I was excited about that. But I found the things that I found here was a total opposite. This is my last chance.
When she was 17, Rennell Hartley was in the MTV documentary Camp Scott Lockup, a rare look inside the facility. Camp Scott is now closed. It's just one of several juvenile detention facilities owned by the LA County Probation Department, which faces thousands of allegations of abuse, including rape and sexual abuse of children. Rennell was one of them.
Everywhere I look, everything that I see, I just see his face.
The face of her probation officer, Thomas Jackson. Rennell alleges in a lawsuit that he abused her more than 2 decades ago. He's one of multiple probation officers accused of trading privileges for sex acts with children in the county's care.
He had me lift up my shirt to show him my breast. I begged him, I said, please don't make me do this. He said, you do have a review coming up. It's up to you how I write it. He had the pen, so he had the power. Another time, he made me grab his penis with my hand.
Rennell and her former bunkmate, Akilah Jefferson, are 2 litigants among the more than 2,500 now suing the county. Akilah says in the lawsuit that Jackson, then the camp's acting director, would order her to his office when she was 16 years old.
He would touch me. He would touch me, caress me, show me different things.
How did you feel in those moments?
First, I was scared, but if I don't do it, what's gonna happen? Especially if somebody's basically like caressing your head and sending you to the direction where they want you to go. What do? You're back here, you're a kid, you don't know. If you say, no, I don't wanna do this, you do it.
So you felt you could never say no?
No, I couldn't say no.
She wound up in probation after shoplifting clothes for her younger siblings.
My granddad didn't have no money to buy them, So after a while, I started running with these girls, and it was like, oh, we could show you how to get clothes. My brothers needed clothes, I needed clothes, so I would do that.
She then violated probation by missing school, and that's how she ended up at Camp Scott.
LA County touts itself as a place for rehabilitation when you come here.
Right.
Do you see it that way?
I don't. I see it as a place that broke a lot of children.
Children who needed help, many of them from broken homes.
A lot of these kids don't have families. A lot of these kids' mothers and fathers are dealing with addiction, prostitution, jail, the criminal justice system themselves. They're runaways, they're ward of the court, so they know no one's coming to look for you.
They're black and brown.
Black and brown. Black and brown.
Dominique Anderson first entered the LA County probation system after she says she poked a classmate with a pencil.
When the police came, they said, you stabbed the girl with the pencil, and that's a deadly weapon and it's a felony.
Dominique was raised by her grandmother. Her dad was murdered when she was 4, and she lost her mom to cancer. This is where she grew up, in the heart of Los Angeles.
It brings back those good memories.
Dominique was hopeful that the probation program might offer her new skills. The department says its mission is to rebuild the lives of troubled youth. Instead, she says she was groomed by 3 of the very officers who were supposed to protect her.
This is the last place I was a kid.
Here at the Crenshaw Probation Department, Ernest Walker was a supervisor. In her lawsuit, Dominique says that he picked her up from her grandmother's house, drove her to her hotel for sex, and then paid her $200.
It was just, okay, well, I'm gonna pay you $200. I'm gonna pick you up. And he actually orgasmed on the ride to the hotel.
How old were you when you first met Ernest Walker?
13.
You were 13. Do you know roughly how old he was?
I believe he would have to be like mid to late 40s.
For her silence, she says in the lawsuit, Walker would routinely leave her money in a flower pot at this gas station.
I remember him telling me things like, oh, I love that your breasts are just sprouting. He was really interested in the fact that I was so young.
Can you explain what you feel happened over the course of time with him? Was it rape?
He was interested in me. He paid me for sex, and that's what I did.
You're not old enough to consent.
And that's the tough thing about being a victim. You never see it that this person is abusing their authority. You don't see it as them preying on you as being a child. You see it as, this is a man of power. This is a man of affluence. This is an educated man. He's not a probation officer, he's a supervisor.
Dominique says after she reported being sexually abused by one of her probation officers, she was then approached by a female staff member asking her not to blow the whistle.
She said, he has a daughter, he has a career, he has a lot to lose.
What did you lose?
I think I lost my innocence, my self-esteem.
There's a saying that loosely translated in English is, who will guard the guards? And I'm wondering if you feel that anybody was.
No. And it's hard. It's hard when it's this pervasive because everybody's dirty. You know what I mean? Who can you trust? It is not just the person who is preying on the child. It is also the co-workers who stand by and help these things go on.
It brings up some hard memories, what happened while I was here.
When Ronell tried to report her sexual abuser to the head of Camp Scott, she says her own traumatic past, that she was molested and forced into prostitution at 11 years old, was used against her.
I reported it to the director, and she opened a file cabinet. And she opened my file, and she was like, well, Thomas, looking at your file, you can understand why I can't just take your word for it. It shattered me.
Camp Scott is a place where problems can be turned into opportunities.
Back in 1987, Camp Scott was the state's first military-style detention camp exclusively for girls, touted as a model for the country. Ronell and Akila still can't forget the training that was drilled into them.
28700 Norfolk Canyon Road.
If you want to see some marching, that's where you should go.
Girls were told when they could eat, talk, and go to the bathroom. They showered in groups and were punished with solitary confinement. The goal was to scare the girls straight, but it was the probation department itself that soon got into trouble. In 2006, the Department of Justice began investigating LA's juvenile halls and camps. It revealed systemic abuse and unsafe conditions, and as a result, they were put under federal oversight for 6 years. An LA Times investigation in 2010 found at least 11 probation officers had been convicted of crimes or disciplined for inappropriate conduct with the youth in their care, including having sex with children in detention halls, beatings, and molestation. Investigative reporter Richard Winton broke the story.
I named some people. It took them 13 to 15 months to get rid of those people, named in the LA Times as committing multiple acts of sexual assault on multiple different females. There's been an unwillingness, it seems, to get rid of some people. I mean, they've known that there's been problems with people, and yet they stay on the payroll.
Time and time again, federal and state investigations found abuse across the department's detention centers.
There have been numerous occasions when outside bodies and oversight agencies have basically questioned how this place is run. And they've had numerous management changes, and yet they seem to be still stuck in the same pattern. The youth aren't protected.
If we have folks in the room who'd like to make public comment.
The Probation Oversight Commission was created in 2020 to reform and monitor the department in crisis.
The deep toxicity within the department.
Eshe Jackson is a commissioner. She knows firsthand just how crucial these facilities are for young people who end up in the system.
When I'm in there doing my inspections, it is me that I see.
Because she was locked up in it herself.
All they're trying to do is make it, and they're surrounded by all the wrong people, and they get no fair chances, and they get no forgiveness.
The people in charge just didn't give a damn about the children that they were responsible for protecting.
The law firm Manley, Stewart & Finaldi was the first to bring a lawsuit against LA County after California opened a 3-year look-back window for anyone reporting sexual abuse, and the floodgates opened.
So many women have told us their stories of coming to camp with the hopes of rehabilitation, being groomed, and that turning into sexual abuse, rape, manipulation, control.
Do you think that some of those accused probation officers are still working today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've learned that recently the county has placed about 20 of them on leave. The county has known about this problem for over 3 decades.
The lawsuits are now in discovery, but the county has estimated that it could cost up to $3 billion to settle cases with the thousands who say they were abused.
That is staggering. It's an enormous amount of money, and this is taxpayer dollars. This is record-breaking.
Guillermo Vieira Rosa is the new chief of probation. A former probation officer himself, he served in corrections for almost 30 years. He was sworn in a few months ago, the department's 6th leader in the last 12 years.
This is a revolving door of leadership. There's no other way of putting it.
LA County Probation made it clear they would not comment on ongoing litigation, but the chief did agree to sit down for an interview, which the department then canceled twice, the second time after our crew arrived, citing the chief had COVID. Then, in a statement to ABC News Today, the Los Angeles County Probation Department said the vast majority of the lawsuits against the county predate the current probation and county leadership, noting they have, quote, repeatedly asked plaintiffs' attorneys for the names of alleged defendants, as we want to ensure no alleged offenders have contact with youth in our care, and vowing, we take all allegations of sexual misconduct seriously, investigate each one, and that such misconduct is absolutely deplorable, and we want to do our best to ensure that nothing like this happens. They also added that 8 people connected with these cases have left the probation department, with 2 cases referred to the district attorney. Yet the very day the department canceled our interview for the second time, the LA Times reported yet another probation officer was accused of having sex with an incarcerated minor and was arrested.
Madam Chair, the motion carries.
In February, the BSCC, a state oversight board, voted that the remaining juvenile facilities in LA are unsuitable for the kids and staff there.
I don't see a way forward for LA County.
They ordered them to close within 60 days unless probation could make numerous changes to make them safe.
We just got a report that there were 2 more overdoses in the facility. The same issue is just persisting. If you still see the same problem and all you guys are talking about is needing more time, we've run out of time.
Soon after the lawsuits were filed, the man Ronell and Aquila accused, Thomas Jackson, retired after 33 years with the department. Days later, Dominique's alleged abuser, Ernest Walker, retired too.
We have depositions that are coming up for both of them. Well, they'll have to answer up to what they did. But they were both able to retire and, as of now, collect a pension.
We reached out to Walker and Jackson's attorney, who declined to comment on their behalf. And in court filings, LA County, Jackson, and Walker have denied all the allegations.
When you hear that Walker was able to serve out his 33 years, resign just this past year.
Right. The fact that he was able to retire a decorated person within the juvenile probation system as he preyed on me, it's just ridiculous. It's sad, but it shows how broken the system is.
This building once housed kids waiting for court.
They do a lot of good things here for the youth.
It's now a youth and community gathering space, but when Akilah was 15, she was locked inside this now abandoned holding cell.
That's where you wash your hands and drink water.
Akilah now works for Advocates for Peace and Urban Unity, trying to help kids from her neighborhood become successful.
Here we do gang intervention, and we just added sexual abuse as well. If you need some shoes, you need some clothes, I want my organization to be able to provide that for you. You don't have to go out and do things or take this, even though you don't want to. I could remember him on top of me, and I'm literally crying. And he's upset because I'm crying, because that's messing with him getting off. And I don't want nobody else to experience that.
What does justice look like for you?
This is justice. So many girls came before us, and it's swept under the rug. Y'all shedding lights on it.
A daughter of L.A., Renelle Hartley always loved the Santa Monica Pier, but she's moved far away from the pain she now associates with L.A.
I would love an apology from Los Angeles County Probation Department. I would like for them to admit that they failed us.
Dominique went on to study here at California State University, Dominguez Hills. She can only imagine how much better life could have been had she not been robbed of her childhood.
I wish in them knowing that they're dealing with children who come from these trauma-based backgrounds, that someone would have pulled me to the side and said, young lady, you don't have to do that. You're a queen. You're worth more than that.
Dominique Anderson.
Now a mother of 5, she's studying for her master's in marriage and family therapy.
It's so crazy how trauma works, because the people who inflict trauma, they're not worried that they preyed on you or they abused you. And they're not thinking about me, they went on with their lives. I'm still trying to fix myself and still blaming myself for what I went through. So it takes strength to be able to sit here and do this. But someone's got to do it.